Dr. Abbas's definition of what the research is, and he wrote the definition of research purpose. The research purpose is a statement of why the study is being conducted, or the goal of the study. The goal of the goal of a study might be to identify or describe a concept, or to explain or predict a situation or solution to a situation that indicates the type of study to be conducted. And it continues. The purpose statement identifies the variables, population, and setting for a study. Every study has an explicit or implicit purpose statement. Talk about the purpose of the research. What is the research purpose? The research purpose is a statement of why the study is being conducted, or the goal of the study. The goal of a study might be to identify or describe a concept, or to explain or predict a situation or solution to a situation that indicates the type of study to be conducted. There is a need to write a purpose statement of the specific purpose statement when doing a research. So the purpose and it continues. The purpose statement identifies the variables. Number one, population and setting, or the population and setting for a study. So what is the variable? If you say I am comparing the number of people that takes coffee every day, the variable will be to assess if drinking coffee, if going to work has anything to do with drinking coffee. So people who goes to work every day commute to a longer distance, and who wakes up around 6 o'clock, drink a lot of coffee. So you have to identify the variables. It's, getting up at 6 o'clock versus coffee drinking versus going to work. Those are the three variables to try to compare, if that is the case. So the variables, the population, and the setting of the study. And the text continues. Every study has an explicit or implicit purpose statement. The research purpose statement should state objectively or in a way that does not reflect particular bias or value of the research. Bias usually falls within the category of even a numerical term. When you're doing a numerical analysis, when you say I'm not doing my qualitative or quantitative research, I'm going to do a numerical analysis between two groups. You say drinking coffee and those who drink coffee and those who do not drink coffee. But so the research there might be a bias based. The research might only include, you might include people within the age group of, let's say, between 20 to 40. So you have to, if you say people who goes to work from age 6, who goes to work and gets up at 6 o'clock are all like this, you can't say that, because you only have interview people between the age of 20 and 40. So it might not, that number cannot include everybody. So when the age variation you have to also say, I could only find people that participated from age group to this group to this group. Or you can say there were no male, it was all female I interviewed. Or you can say all people, all the female I interviewed were not pregnant. So if there might be people who are pregnant who doesn't drink coffee for the purposes, they still go to work without drinking coffee, or whatever the situation is, you will have to be more, you have to include more detail into that category. So the objective is the category you have to show whom you included. Has to be more detailed. So bias or value of the researcher. So if you don't include certain things, you might, if you conclude that everybody who drinks coffee between this and this drinks, and then everybody who wakes up at 6 o'clock drink coffee, and you end it there, that is not really a good research. That's why a random research done is not always accurate. It gives you some category, but it leaves out whom they interviewed. They said we interviewed certain 6 people and they prefer this shampoo over this shampoo. It's more than just that statement, that they prefer this shampoo over that shampoo because of they have skin conditions. The doctor does not allow them to do that. They didn't like the fragrance smell. The fragrance smell, they're allergic to certain content inside the shampoo. It could be for many reasons why they chose to use this one over that one. So a real research requires a little more detail than the research that is done generically. Okay, I'm going to continue. A researcher mistake takes place when the researcher does not account for certain things. That could also be seen as a bias. We can continue using the same example of a researcher doing a shampoo choices, using a shampoo choices. Children use, some of the children that use the shampoo, some of the one chose over another. It could be just because it has a nice picture on it, or one word that says something, that says a smoother skin, gives you smoother hair, or for that purpose, it does not tell you exactly why they chose that category. It just tells you 6 people chose over this one. So it will be a bias for that researcher to assume, saying that this product is much better product over that one. This could be a healthier product than that one, but that doesn't mean he cannot assess that based on that. So it will be a researcher bias. Okay, a research which do not recognize their value might include their bias in their research. Okay, which I just, okay, it's the same thing I just say. A researcher does not, more detail, more category, where more areas that need to be covered. The researcher, when he put no value on that aspect of it, to do a deeper research on that aspect of it becomes the researcher problem. It says the research we do not recognize their value might include their bias in their research. You say a purpose, the purpose of the research, the research statement or purpose statement. It generates the research problem, what problem is trying to solve. On the first one, when we were comparing coffee drinking, we were trying to solve if drinking coffee has anything to do with waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So what are we trying to solve? What are the problems? The problems is the correlation between coffee drinking and getting up, coffee drinking and drinking coffee at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to work. And clearly focusing the development of the study. For example, and the study include the following research problem. And why research is necessary and valuable in our daily lives. Why do we need to do research? Here is another one that gives us 7 points as to why research is important. Why do we need to do research? And what benefit do we get out of research? So numerical research, where there is a need for variable, for assessing variables. We need more than one variable. Number one, we need more than one variable to compare with. So it will be variable A versus variable B. How did what variable A affect variable B? And so on and so forth. So when we said, why is research valuable in our daily lives? That's a good question to ask. What did the research do to improve life? What do we research? Why do we put so much stake at the research? How did we come about? How did we discover language? Did language exist, pre-exist? Did everybody spoke in the beginning? Language is oral language. When did it start? So if you believe in creation, then you say Adam and Eve. What did Adam and Eve communicate verbally? Did they exchange? Did they originate? How did they express their thoughts, their ideas, their needs? So the first thing, and then we move to beyond just that. We do know that at some point people believed a whole lot of things. They accuse a whole lot of things for different reasons. The sun, they use the sun as they didn't understand what the sun is, so they gave the sun credit for many things, or they discredited it for many things. But at some point, the research brought about many changes. That means we have time. We have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On top of that, we can have time in terms of, we have days, Monday through Friday, not through Friday, Monday through Sunday, and then we divide that to a weekend. Even when the day was explained in Genesis, they said it was 7 days. The creation was in 7 days. So that 1 week category, we use a 7 days category. A day off on the 7th day is a day off. Then we have the months, 12 months a year. And we have 362 days a year, and weeks, 52 weeks a year, and so on and so forth. So we start calculating numbers. We start putting numerical value to each of our days. We put numerical value to how we build our house, consistency. So we have 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet. So research brought about many changes. Research, the value of research. So there are 7 categories this website offers. Why research is necessary. The first one was, it's a tool for building knowledge and facilitating learning. So building knowledge, how do we build knowledge? The way we go ahead and do a research. We said, what is the value of this rock? What is the value of this rock? Oh, this rock looks like a diamond. How is this glassy looking diamond rock different than any other rock? What's its purpose? How do we use it for certain reasons, and how do we improve our life with it? So it helps us learn about our surroundings, our environments, and what the areas the world we live in. And the next one, it's a means to understand issues and increase public awareness. That's a very good public awareness and understand issues. We just said for discover, learn, and then also to communicate certain things. For example, we can say that there is a pandemic that took place. Corona is a pandemic that covers the world. So we can communicate that this disease is a serious disease, and this researcher can talk to that researcher and tell him that, no, I have discovered that 6 feet, if two people stand away from each other within 6 feet, they cannot transmit this disease from one person to the next, because it dissipates. When they cough, it dissipates in the air within 6 minutes. Whatever they cough, it dissipates before it reaches that 6 feet distance. And that is also communicating awareness and presenting problems. Instead of going back in time, you can use the current issue like the corona to address, to show how research makes it a better. But when on last year in between January to March, before they start doing the research on corona, there was a whole lot of speculation. They speculated what the corona disease would be, how many people it's going to kill, and soon they discovered that it's more of it targets people who are already ill, and then that little knowledge improved how we address the corona, and so on and so forth. So, and we move to the next, the number 3, what he wrote to us, number 3. It helps us succeed in business. Research helps us succeed in business. Business growth. Business is there are a lot of companies that have moved to international, as they have to address international needs. As one of them is, let's use communication. One of the biggest businesses, communication. Cell phone. Because of people migrating from country to country. So people who migrate from point A, that means from their current place to point B, as a permanent move, usually creates a new source for us, a customer, and their needs have to be addressed. So, or they could be the people who generate the business. It don't matter. That migration creates the need for communication. So the company the communication company try to connect from people to people. Now they connect country to country, and on top of that, information to information. We can go ahead and use what you get this information in one country, they can also be available in another country. There is a network like Facebook, the social media like Facebook, and you can say YouTube, Twitter. Those are instant communication tools. You can go ahead and post your video on the internet, and anybody anywhere in the world can access it. So those are sites. The website network, the internet is one of the main sources that connects. And in order to put the internet out, to make the internet available, there's a whole lot of physical network that has to be placed in order to make this possible, this communication worldwide possible. So it does generate a larger business with more customers, and it expands. Research expands. How do we address a housing problem for one area? How do we address road traffic problem in one area? And how does it generate businesses to the other without if one area has access to a certain surplus, in order to have access to that surplus, there has to be roads, there has to be transportation, and other consideration that must be pre-considered before saying that this surplus can be transported around the world in order to make that available around the world. That will be one of them will be oil. One country has majority of the oil for cars, for vehicles, transportation we use, oils we use. for transportation, for lighting and things like that. Those oils has to, even though one country has a surplus, it reaches around the world through such means, which makes it possible. And we're going to move to 4. Number 4, it allows us to disprove lies and support truth. One of the most area as of today that struggle with such concept is the law. We need the law to tell us what's approved and what's not. Well, how do we come up with what's approved and what's not? If two people are accusing each other and one of them accusing the other one for doing something, and there is no credit that says this person did anything. So let's say person A is accused by person B for committing a crime of stealing. So person A has to prove that he has not stolen. He say, you come and search my house, come do this and do that. So there is a certain level of investigation that's necessary to disprove that what person B said is not true, that the person A did not steal, or the person A did steal it. So in order to investigate such cases, there has to be an investigation and an understanding of what transpired and whether it's true that such item was missing in the first place. What if certain person B he hid the product and said it was stolen by person A. So it don't matter. In order to disprove lies and find the truth, that is one of the most interesting is the creation of law, the police investigation of crimes, which is necessary. It's also in the category of doing an everyday research. So research has to be in-depth and thorough. In order, if it's not completely thorough, and it's not, it does not look deeply into the problem, it will have many issues. So in order to discover the truth of whether the truth of a research in terms of, let's say, we are doing a company did a survey, it just randomly did a survey of 100 people and decided that getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning has something to do with, and going to work has something to do with drinking coffee. People who wake up at 7 o'clock do not drink as much coffee. He can ask him anything, but that statement itself is wrong for many reasons. For example, if he says he interviewed 100 people and discovered that those people that get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and drink, at 6 o'clock in the morning, drink coffee, that scenario also said, how old were these people? That scenario requires him to investigate further, saying the people between 100 people between the age of, let's say he interviewed people between the age of 30 to 50. So that doesn't include anybody younger than 30 and older than 50. So people between the age of 30 and 50. And he might have just interviewed men. Could be only men he interviewed, not female. People who are female don't drink coffee, or he just only interviewed female, not male. So that category also has to be, he interviewed 2 females and 99 males. That's also a biased statement. It throws off the truth. It's not really a truth to say that he included women. Those women might just drink coffee for company purposes. That means they get up in the morning and because other people drink coffee, they just drink coffee with them. They literally don't drink coffee any other day unless there's somebody with them that's drinking coffee. That's the only time they drink coffee. There could be many reasons why. And plus the women, if there were women that did not drink coffee, you have to assess for pregnancy. Were they pregnant? Were they allergic to coffee? This and that and that and that. So there's a whole lot of things that might mislead this information into many other issues. So when there is a research, such in-depth research, this is a generic research, which gives you a random number, which is approximately reasonable. And in certain areas, this kind of assessment is true, and it does give you a truthful discovery, but not in every category. So discovering the truth versus the lie. I'm gonna leave that one and move to the next categories. It says it's a means to find, gag, and seize opportunity. Research is accidental discovery. It's quite an interesting discovery. So many of the true discoveries, several of them, is accidentally discovered. Serendipity is what they call it. So that could be one way, but an intentional discovery is what we're talking about. So we're going after a discovery and saying, okay, what am I going to do? A farmer has a surplus of oranges, and he needed to do something with it. He knows this area it's not selling well in this area, making a whole lot of oranges. So doing additional research, going out there and seeing how he can distribute this orange and get money out of it. So research is also seizing the opportunity, saying, how am I going to improve every day? How am I going to improve my business? How am I going to improve? Why do I not have a customer around here? If I open a store right here, I will have not enough customers. So I should be opening a store somewhere else. If I'm planning to go ahead and open a store, I have to open a store in an area where my people who want my products are located. I have to be focused on where is my customer, where am I going to go ahead and present that. So it gives you many opportunities. It presents opportunities, and we move to the next one. Number 6, it promotes love, confidence in reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information. Okay, we can use the corona again. Each country presents how to resolve. So it's the sharing of ideas and reading other people's research, analyzing other categories. Another important thing about promoting confidence reading, writing, analysis, and sharing information is another area is the personal research. People who make cooking videos, who make discoveries. Sometimes they show you they discovered a plant that does this and that could do this and that could do that. So it leads to sharing information. And this comes about if you read other people's work, if you investigate what are discovered out there within the same area that one is doing, if you're studying the importance of that category and things like that, that leads to that discovery. So it also leads to improving research because of that area. So personal research in everyday life also can produce in a better improvement of human life, the importance of research. That could also be a research area. Okay, and the last one, it provides nourishment and exercise for the mind. The individual that discovered let's say, what did they discover? They discovered agriculture and how to improve agriculture. They discovered mechanical tools. They discovered nails. They discovered melting metals. They discovered all those people contribute to the improvement of life. So the purpose of research is to improve one's life. to drive one's everyday struggle to minimize its hardship. So it presents a whole lot of important goals that can be that can provide for betterment of life. We are moving to the next category. This is social research method and research design. Okay, on this category, on this aspect of it, we're going to do a summary assessment. That means we're going to read a paragraph. We're going to read the 3 categories, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about the 3 categories individually and how it's applicable. So we're going to see the 3 purposes of research. Social research can serve a variety of purposes. 3 of the most influential and common purposes of research are explanation. One is explanation. So we said object A, we're trying to explain object A. Then next comes description. We are going to describe object A, or exploration, explanation, and description. So we're going to explore it. And those are the 3 categories. So we're going to start with exploration, not explanation, but exploration. So exploration. It's by definition, exploration involves familiarizing a research with a topic. So the researcher has to be familiar with the topic. So it helps the researcher get familiarized with the topic. Exploration satisfies the researcher's curiosity, desire to improve and understand. So this is the main purpose of this, is to help the researcher get a proper grip on the research they're trying to do. That if I'm about to my field of study is computer science. If I'm trying to understand the social setting before I did my research in how they use mobile. Let's say I'm trying to see the application of mobile phone to banking, mobile phone, the application of mobile phone to buy taxi, to use Google Map, using Google Map. So or or map, or for many other purposes, or finding the various restaurants within a certain city. It don't matter, whatever it is I'm trying to explore. So I don't know the social setting whom I'm researching. So it helps me explore the social setting, even though I'm familiar with the technical aspect of how the technology could be used and what benefit it has. I have to know the social, the people who's using the technology first, understanding, and how to first understand the social setting which I'm about to do the research on. So that's one. It satisfies the researcher's need. And exploratory tests the feasibility or undertaking of more extensive study. Do I need to do a more extensive study on the area of saying, instead of trying to see how mobile users apply the technology toward discovering where the restaurants are, discovering or booking a hotel? I can go ahead and say first I have to actually research the mobile users themselves and what category they fall. That means the people who has a mobile phone could be just people who do businesses. There might not be too many individuals that has mobile phone. It could be many other categories. I have to practically first and then do a research on that category and see if there are others that has already done all those categories. all those research. So I can say this has been researched. That means it has been researched that not most of the people who own mobile phone are people who commute to work, and only most of the people who have who live in the city, who live in the suburb, who live in the certain category. All that has been researched. So I mean, I've been discovered. So I can move on to my own category of researching and saying how people book hotel using their mobile phone. If that category has not been covered, then my research is jumping to my conclusion might not meet what it's assumption. So I can use that their original discovery into my conclusion. If I say there's 60% of the mobile users are female between the age of 20 and 30, and those females are usually those females also further additional research tells me they're females. Those the mobile users also use it to communicate with their family, not anything else beyond that. They don't. It's not mostly applied to anything else. 60% of the probability, the time they use mobile phone to communicate with their family. Or it says, and there's another category of people that use mobile phone, and those are people in that do field work, and they use to communicate this businesses that does a lot of field work, and they communicate their orders, their needs, their services, like truck drivers that deliver products. They use them to tell them change of plan, change of schedule, things like that. Communicate those kind of. So it makes sense. So exploratory is to discover what is already done, how is my research, which direction should my research go, and etc. Okay, and exploratory have developed the method that will be used to study. So this also guides the researcher into which direction to do the research. Should I do a qualitative or quantitative research? Is using a variable better than using an interview, a survey, things like that. I'm going to pause right here and continue on the next aspect of it. I'm going to start with descriptive because the shorter version of it, and then the explanation is a little longer than descriptive. So let's start with descriptive. Okay, descriptive involves describing situations and events through scientific observation. So it has to be done through scientific observation. Scientific descriptives are typically more accurate and precise than causal ones. For example, the U.S. censor uses descriptive social research in the examining of characteristic of U.S. population. To define a descriptive to its precise meaning is here is a common definition of how to describe descriptive in its common meaning. Descriptive research question will begin with how much. One of them is how much. How often? And then the next one is how regularly did that event take place? How much of the event, how much of the situation, or how much of the event, how much of the people meet the requirement X? How regularly do the people meet requirement X? Then what percentage of the population meet the requirement X? What time? At what time did what time did the people meet the requirement X? For them in the afternoon, during lunchtime, then what is the requirement? And then says what is the percentage of the population of us. So it's a descriptive research will use a quantifying a single variable, but there's nothing stopping you covering a multiple variable within a single question. So in a survey question, when a company is doing a branding test, for example, which brand of the car, which do people choose car X over car Y, is a branding of the car, saying that car X and car Y have similar engine style, similar seat, similar door, similar amount of gas per mileage. When they both match to a certain degree, why do they choose variable A over variable B, and so on and so forth? So we ask this question when we want to be descriptive about it. When we are doing a descriptive research, we are asking in terms of quantifying how much of the population chose this brand, how much of the, and so on and so forth. Okay, we're gonna move to the next category. And the last one is explanation. So explanations involves answering the question of what, where, when, and how. 4 questions: what, number 1, number 2, where, number 2, when, and the last one, how. What, where, when, and how. Explanation study answers question of why. For example, an explanation involves answering the question of what, where, when, and how. Explanation study answers the question why. So, why? Why did one event? Why is a very good question. Why is a very wide question? You can ask, a child will ask you, why did grandma came late? Why did the moon rise at night? Why did the sun do this? Why is the sun so bright? Why is the water liquid? Why is the air invisible? And the why question goes on and on and on and on. So the first good example is why. Why it answers the questions of why. Explanation. It explains why events take place. Why is it warm in the summer? Because the earth is closer to the sun. During summertime, the 4 months, the earth is nearer to the sun than the 4 months where it's farthest from the sun. It gets cooler. Why do we have 24 hours a day? Why? And the question why is an explanation research to answer that. So we can answer what, where, when, and how. What was, for example, if we are saying that we plant vegetable X in the season, we can only it grows in from June to and July. We can say what plants grows in the months of June and July. That will be, that's just for random. We're just gonna pick apple and oranges. So we're gonna say apple and oranges grow in June and July. Where they grow out, this is not true, but we're gonna say they prefer a colder weather. So we're gonna say they grow up in these countries because they have the most colder weather, more closer to the 0 degrees. So why, where, and when, and we already answered where. When, that is in June and July. And how, we say it's with a minimum amount of water, with minimum amount of water around this, and we just described the how aspect of it. And that is the first. So two categories, nometic versus ideology. That's using logic. So we're gonna start with the ideographic explanation, a full detail, in-depth understanding of the case. Practical reasoning. Only a few subjects study in this way. And ideographic explanation of the Current example we can use of variable A survey would involve a more conclusive list of factors that would influence a person's point of view on that subject. So when we say ideographic explanation, it is the person, you can do that through asking a person's point of view. You can say, what do you think of apple over oranges? You can say, why do you have adverse reactions that nobody should ever sell apple? Why do you think apple should be available to everybody? And things like that. And we're going to move to the Nomethic explanation. A generalized understanding of a given case with a goal of finding new factors that can account for many of this variation in a given phenomenon is applicable to many subjects. Regarding the survey mentioned above in terms of variable X, details with a person's the person's view over an apple. Nominal explanation may simply suggest that political orientation is the main driving force, being people's different opinion on that subject. It could be that they value up. They said let's not sell apple because certain because the country because of it affects we have to import it from another country and the cost of import. This will be the good example would be sugar. Sugar is imported in many countries. Some countries don't have sugar, so that presented a challenges which makes it a political ground, which a political issue, which creates a Nomethic explanation of why they chose apple not to be sold within the country, or apple should not be made available, something. Hypotheses are not required in Nomethic research. So you don't have to hypothesize on that subject when people are giving you their opinion of one over the other. You can say people opinion on the subject, majority opinion matches on the subject, like they prefer that apple not be sold here. So it becomes irrelevant for you to do any further explanation why they chose one over the other. Okay. There are three main criteria for Nomethic causal relationship in social research. The number one is the variable must be correlated. Number two, the variable are non-spurious. And the last one, the cause takes place before the effect. When does a cause takes place before the effect? Causal relationship.